Have you ever felt like happiness is something you're chasing, but it's always just out of reach? Like you can't
Yeah.
quite grasp it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. It's almost this mythical thing.
Exactly. And today we're going to take a deep dive into a book that offers a completely different perspective.
Okay, I'm interested.
It's called The Art of Happiness, and it's by no other than the Dalai Lama himself.
Oh, wow, the Dalai Lama.
And he actually co-wrote it with a psychiatrist named Howard Cutler.
Okay.
So you have this really fascinating blend of ancient wisdom and modern Western psychology.
Yeah, that's really interesting, bringing those two worlds together.
And the core idea, and this is what I find so fascinating, is that happiness is not something you're just born with or you're lucky enough to find. It's actually a skill.
A skill, like something you can learn.
Yes, it's something you can cultivate through practice, just like you would learn to play an instrument or speak a new language.
Okay, so you're telling me if I put in the work, I can actually train my mind to be happier.
That's exactly what the book argues. And I don't know about you, but that gives me a sense of hope because it means we're not just at the mercy of our circumstances. We actually have some agency in creating our own happiness.
Yeah, I like that. Taking control rather than just hoping for the best.
But I think it's important to acknowledge right off the bat that life isn't always easy, right? We all experience suffering and challenges.
Oh, absolutely. That's part of being human.
And the book doesn't try to sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
It actually acknowledges that suffering is a universal experience.
That's good. It's not trying to be some kind of toxic positivity thing.
No, not at all. In fact, it frames suffering not as something to avoid at all costs, but as something that can actually be a catalyst for growth.
A catalyst for growth. That's interesting. How so?
Think of it like physical exercise.
Mm.
When we lift weights, we actually create tiny tears in our muscles.
Right.
And it's through that process of repair and rebuilding that our muscles get stronger.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The book argues that in a similar way, facing and overcoming challenges can actually make us more resilient and ultimately more capable of experiencing happiness.
So it's not about avoiding suffering, but about learning to navigate it in a way that leads to greater strength and, yeah, happiness.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that a key ingredient in this process is compassion.
Compassion.
Yes. And not just compassion for others, but also, and this is so important, compassion for ourselves.
That's interesting. I think a lot of us are quicker to judge ourselves than to show ourselves kindness.
Right. And the book really dives into this idea of self-compassion and how crucial it is for our well-being.
So it's not about ignoring our flaws or pretending everything's okay, but about cultivating that kindness and understanding towards ourselves even when we're struggling.
Precisely. Because when we can be kind to ourselves, we're more likely to bounce back from setbacks and approach challenges with a more positive mindset.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. Suffering, compassion, resilience. But it still feels a bit abstract. How do we actually put this into practice?
That's where the art part of happiness comes in. The book argues that just like we can train our bodies through physical exercise, we can train our minds for happiness through specific mental practices.
Okay, so what kind of mental training are we talking about?
Well, two of the key practices the book emphasizes are meditation and mindfulness.
I've heard a lot about those, but to be honest, I always thought they were kind of woo-woo.
I get it, they've become kind of buzzwords these days. But what I appreciate about the book is that it really grounds these practices in a practical, down-to-earth way.
So it's not just about sitting on a mountaintop chanting Om.
No, it's about learning to cultivate a sense of awareness and presence in our everyday lives. It's about learning to quiet the constant chatter of our minds and tap into a deeper sense of peace and stillness.
Okay, that sounds kind of nice, actually.
And the book provides a lot of guidance on how to do that, even if you've never meditated before. It also talks about something called cognitive reframing.
Cognitive reframing, what's that?
It's essentially about changing the way we think about challenging situations. So, for example, let's say you're stuck in traffic and you're starting to get really frustrated.
Oh yeah, that's me. I hate traffic.
Instead of letting that frustration take over and ruin your mood, you can try to reframe the situation. Maybe you use that time to listen to a podcast you've been meaning to catch up on, or you practice some mindfulness exercises, or you just appreciate the fact that you're not the one who has to deal with the accident that's causing the traffic jam.
So it's about choosing how we react to those situations rather than letting them dictate our emotional state.
Exactly. And that's a skill that takes practice, but the book offers a lot of practical tips on how to do it.
Makes sense.
Another powerful tool the book explores is the importance of empathy and connection.
Okay.
So it emphasizes the profound impact of building compassionate relationships with others.
So it's not just about focusing on our own happiness, but recognizing that our happiness is interconnected with the well-being of others.
Right, when we focus on understanding and helping others, it not only benefits them, but it also brings a sense of purpose and fulfillment to our own lives.
I can see how that would contribute to overall happiness.
And I think it's also worth addressing the elephant in the room, which is that a lot of people might be thinking, okay, all this sounds great in theory, but how can I possibly find time for meditation and compassion and all these things in my crazy busy modern life?
Right, life is hectic.
And what's fascinating is that the Dalai Lama actually argues that these practices are even more relevant today than ever before.
Really?
He says that in a world of constant stimulation and stress, cultivating inner peace and resilience is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Wow.
So it's not about adding more to our to-do list, it's about finding ways to integrate these practices into our daily lives, even in small ways.
Finding that sense of balance and well-being amidst the chaos?
Exactly. And the book offers a lot of really practical advice on how to do that. So I think it's a really valuable resource for anyone who's feeling overwhelmed or stressed or just looking for a more fulfilling and joyful way to live.
Yeah, this has been a really eye-opening conversation. And I think what's really resonated with me is this idea that happiness is not some distant destination we have to strive for. It's something we can cultivate in each and every moment.
I agree. And we've only just scratched the surface of the art of happiness today, so I'd encourage everyone listening to check out the book for themselves. It's full of wisdom and practical guidance that can truly change your life.
Absolutely. And as you delve deeper into the book, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question to ponder. The Dalai Lama emphasizes that our own happiness is interconnected with the well-being of others.
It's not just about us as individuals.
Exactly. So as you continue on your own personal journey toward greater happiness, consider this. How might your journey ripple outward, contributing to a more compassionate and joyful world for everyone?
It's a beautiful thought to end on. And that's it for our deep dive into the art of happiness. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep cultivating your own unique art of happiness.
That's a great reminder. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
It was a pleasure.
Likewise.
And to all our listeners, keep those questions coming, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye, everyone.